Hey, this is Fred from Profil, and what a privilege. I'm in Montreal, sitting with DEVIN Townsend. Comment ça va, DEVIN?
Bien.
Bien?
Yeah, très bien. That's all I got for French. Je m'appelle Devin, pamplemousse, poisson, quel temps fait-il, où est la toilette, un petit peu, brasier?
Brassiere, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, le brasier, which I think is great, as opposed to la brasier,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's a male, yeah. I remember when I was in 10th grade, I did very well in school, but I did so poorly in French. And if I had failed French, it would have really been a problem for me on graduation. So I talked to my French teacher, Mr. Bernier, and he made me promise that if he passed me with a C minus, I would never go to France. And then I was in France like 6 months later.
That's funny.
And I think I remember asking people very specifically, who is the toilet?
Well, part of the reason why you have to learn French is because you're from Canada, actually
Yeah.
from the West Coast.
Yes, sir, Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver, which
Yeah.
is about 4,500 kilometers from Montreal. Same country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read French better than I speak it, and I've got a lot of French speaking friends, of course, and Canada's interesting in that front. You know, a very
Yeah.
close friend of mine is Quebecois, so it's like, you know, but I'm very poor at any other language.
I gotta ask, like, you're in Quebec right now. Do you feel like you're playing at home?
I was talking to my friend who was born in Sherbrooke, and he said, I said, you know, it's always been interesting to me because having spent so much time in France, I know the nature of France very well.
Yep.
And Quebec seems like very much like Canada and France. And he said, yeah, it's like poutine, right? So it's like the mixture of the two, right?
Absolutely.
But there's certainly a Canadian familiarity here. But at the same time, I want to be able to like speak French when I'm here, because it seems like although it is the same country, there's a very distinct culture here that I think it's important for me to at least try. And I get the impression that although everybody here speaks English, for the most part, I get the impression that it's appreciated if at least you put in some sort of effort, you know, to try.
Well, nice of you.
Merci
Very nice.
beaucoup.
Yeah. Let's continue off with the release of Empath.
Sure.
Back in March last year, almost a year ago already. Was the response up to your expectation when you look back?
It surpassed my expectations.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I was afraid that by allowing myself to be more free musically, that's not what people wanted from me. You know, I guess over the past 5 to 10 years, I've made a lot more commercial, more accessible music. I mean, except for maybe Deconstruction and some of Ziltoid or whatever. There's a lot of it is, you know, Addicted and Epic Cloud and Sky Blue and things that are a lot more traditional. This is the structure and this is the chorus and everything. And I really enjoy that type of music. I love songs like Hyperdrive or Life or what have you. But I found myself getting really bored with it, and so I thought, okay, well, either I make a record that's entirely that, or I just let it all go and just do something like this. And so I chose to do this, and it was made me very nervous because I was like, man, I'm pretty old to be switching back to something that's not particularly sellable, right? And so I put it out, and I decided to be as uncompromising as I could. And to my surprise, I think people were wanting that from me. I think people were more, not tolerating, but more just like, well, if you want to do commercial stuff, that's cool too, but we know what your nature is. So by doing this, I don't think people were surprised, which was surprising to me, I guess. And it made it so much easier for me to do things like this tour, where it's not a set list, it's not a slick rock and roll show with a big light show and a video wall. It's like a bunch of very talented people just playing songs
Yeah.
and fucking it up, but then learning. And I think that there's something that's really interesting about the live music experience being based on human beings playing music as opposed to computers and all that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have been confident enough to do this had this not been accepted as much as it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
If quickly, if someone walks by you, doesn't know you're a musician, and you want to talk about Empath,
Yeah.
how do you do this?
Well, it's interesting you ask that because I find that my phone is ringing and I am about to check who it is before I hang up on them. Oh, it's my buddy Mark. And it's Mark. Sorry, bud. Bye. All right, so I love Mark. He's gonna phone again, I guarantee. It's just Mark, but we'll see. I don't consider what I do to be. I mean, clearly it's music, but it's like when people put my work in with other bands, you know, they say, "Oh, you're in this genre, or you do this, that, or the other thing." I'm always like, I don't actually think that at all. Music for me is the byproduct of my process of trying to just like figure out myself, right? Unfuck myself is the whole goal. And this shit just kind of happens as a result of it. And so when people are asking what it is or what it isn't, I mean, I don't know. It's a bunch of stuff, right? And sometimes it's brutal, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's stupid, and sometimes it's commercial, sometimes it has a chorus, sometimes it's a bunch of humming noises, and sometimes it's a bunch of machines blowing up. I mean, ultimately it's wherever I'm at in my life and in my development has a soundtrack. And it seems like as artists we are more antennas to that than we are creators.
Yeah.
And so if you do your job right, you just accurately represent those things that are part of your process. So I don't know. It's heavy, weird, commercial. Because they're somewhere between Napalm Death and Anya.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Empath finished off very high on many top 15, top 20 albums, especially in the progressive rock world.
Yeah.
But your music is very hard to categorize.
Yeah.
Some people will say it's progressive rock, some other will say it's rock opera.
Sure.
And some other people will also say it's just Devin Townsend.
Sure.
So is progressive rock still like acceptable, or?
I never really liked progressive rock.
Okay.
That was always a thing that now I find myself in with it. Progressive rock thing. There's a lot of progressive rock bands that I do like, but now I consider progressive to be more like I would consider Meshuggah to be a progressive rock band, or Gojira, or you know, things like that. And I don't think that there's anything that defines me in comparison with those bands, or Yes, or what have you. But I think if we can use progressive as in just like, okay, well, what's something that is not just rock or not just heavy metal? Like, I'm fortunate that I never had a huge amount of success, because then I feel like I get tied into a certain sound, but it hasn't. So it doesn't really matter. I can just do whatever I want. I can make country music, I can make ambient music, I can make death metal, I can make opera, I can do pop. It doesn't matter, right? And I think that the need to categorize is difficult as well, and I understand why it needs to be categorized, but for me it's that thing that I do, right?
Love
and
it.
The fact that people perceive it as being part of a scene or warrants being on a list of some sort is like really flattering, but I don't know, man. It's a bunch of shit that just happens at the end of every 2 years.
You've been releasing albums since the early 90s.
Yeah.
Almost one album per year.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is a lot
of music.
Yeah, it's like,
are you exactly where you wanted to be in 2020?
I don't know if there's any other place I could be. I think that this is it. You know? I mean, I guess if you're given choices, say, okay, well, would you rather have more of this or that or the other thing? Maybe, you know, maybe you'd want a bit more financial independence, or maybe you'd want to know how to equalize cymbals better or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've never thought of that. Where I'm at is exactly where I should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
You had to put a band together for
Yeah.
the Empath tour.
Yeah.
How did it go? Like,
Well, every tour I want to be different. Like that was one of my biggest problems by the end of strapping and DTV is I just got really bored. It's like doing the same thing every day.
yeah,
Same set list, all to computers, all like, you know, over and over and over and over. And as an artist or a musician, I'm just like, ugh, if I got to be away from home, it's like punching a clock. And
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have a job that I can choose not to do that. But I have to figure out how to do it right, or else it's just a bunch of bullshit, I think. So I start with the acoustic show, so it just takes everything away except for me and a guitar. And then this is the second run. And what I did was I just got a bunch of brilliant musicians that are good at improv. You know, Keneally and Morgan and Diego and Jay and Nathan, right? And I've just given them a whole bunch of songs. But we've had no rehearsal, so we have to learn them while we're playing.
wow, nice.
But it's great because it's like maybe by the end of the tour we'll have a real solid set list and we'll know how to play it. But I love being, I'm like a perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect, but I'm so imperfect that it's, you know, this tour allows me to be imperfect without having to make excuses for it. And if people are like, hey man, we went to see the show and it wasn't perfect, I was like, well then it was what I wanted it to be, because I'm not perfect, right?
Do you miss your time in like bands such as Strapping Young Lads or like, no?
No.
Okay,
No. And I doubt I'll miss this when I'm done. You know?
understood. Yeah, yep.
You know, I don't miss the acoustic show, and I won't miss what I do next. I mean, it's like,
You move on.
yeah, man, that sounds awesome. And that's why it's funny when people are saying, oh, you know, you should do what you did in the past again. I'm just like, oh, this sounds fucking horrible. Right?
Considering your experience now, what would you tell a 20-year-old who wants to become a professional rock musician?
Drink more water. Honestly. It's like all the 80s stuff that we remember hearing about with touring, you know, all the Rat videos and the Motley Crue videos of like, you know, tour buses and women and drugs and booze and all that stuff. Dude, that'll tear the ass out of you, man. Like, it's a job, and you've got a job to do, and there's people that are paying to see you, and you got to keep yourself healthy. You got to keep your mind as centered as you can be, and you got to surround yourself with people who aren't toxic, and you've got to eat food that doesn't screw you up, and if you choose to drink or whatever, you got to find a time to do that where it doesn't get in the way of your voice or your performance. And drugs, other than weed, and for a lot of people even weed, are like really a easy road to slide down, right? And you know, weed for a lot of people as well it doesn't, you know, just chills them out. But for a lot of other people, you don't realize that it changes you over the course of a month or two. Not in like a dramatic way, but just like little things. It fucks up your voice. It like psychologically, you like pay attention to things that are like weed things, right? And it's so all of this. It's like if you want to do this and you're 20, man, that's when your body is still hopefully healthy enough to be able to like, okay, well, stay in shape and drink water. As a singer, just drink water all the time. You know.
So you're saying that you're healthier now that you were,
oh my God,
20 years ago.
Oh, 100%.
Good.
100%.
Good to hear.
100% healthier, and yeah.
I have a few more questions because I know we're limited in time. But the questions I have now, they only require one-word answers.
Sure,
so they're very quick.
Yeah.
Which one would you prefer? DEVIN Townsend Cruise or DEVIN Townsend Festival?
Festival.
Next album, DEVIN Townsend or DEVIN Townsend Project?
DEVIN Townsend.
One album you would never get rid of no matter what?
Chants of India by George Harrison and Ravi Shankar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Devin Townsend, #1 fan base country.
Finland, I think.
Finland.
Yeah.
The best Canadian progressive rock or metal band.
No idea. Propaganda.
Propaganda. Are you more into Yes or Genesis?
Yes.
One word to describe Empath.
Confusing.
When you listen to music, growl or clean, which one do you prefer?
What was the two options?
Growl or clean voice singing?
When I listen?
Yes.
Clean. 100%.
Clean. If there was one song you wish you had written, which one would it be?
I don't wish I'd written any other songs.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah.
And one artist, dead or alive, you wish you could play with?
I don't want to play with anybody that I haven't played with.
No.
Not really.
That's good.
Yeah.
The last one, because you're a proud Canadian,
Yeah.
I must ask, your favorite hockey team?
Don't like hockey.
You don't like hockey.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dislike it. I just.
No time for it.
Nah, it's not. I got time. I just don't. It's just not. Sports or music. I was just music, right?
Roger that.
I like watching hockey because I can make my friends who like hockey really upset by just yelling out names that I know are divisive. You know, what was the guy's name? The guy, the goalie for the Canucks, Luongo.
Oh, Luongo, yeah.
If I say, like, I would have when the Canucks were playing when he was still in, all I had to say, and I don't know anything about it, is just I was in a room full of guys and I'd be like, fucking Luongo, and they'd be like, dude, fucking Luongo. They start going off on all this stuff, and that's all I had to do. It's like you throw a bone into a pit of like hyenas, right?
Awesome.
And I don't know.
Well, Devin, it was an honor again
too,
to
man.
talk to you, and wish you like a lot of success still with Empath because it's still
Thank you.
very popular out there.
Do you like hockey?
I do.
What's your team?
Montreal.
Canadians, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you?
Boston Bruins.
Boston Bruins. Okay. Yeah. What's the difference, just other than the town
It's the
and the
talent.
outfits?
Probably the talent.
Talent. They're
Yes.
#1 team.
Who, the Bruins are the
Yeah.
#1 team? Is
Yeah.
that like a statement that other people would disagree with? Or
No.
is that just the truth?
No, it's
Yeah.
true.
So, but for
Oh.
years, was it like the Oilers were really popular?
Yep.
Right? And then I remember the Vancouver.
Yeah,
team.
against the Bruins, and the Bruins won the Stanley Cup. In,
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And then there was one where they were up against Long Island.
Yeah, the Islanders.
Islanders.
Yeah.
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 And then there was another guy who broke somebody's neck. Remember that?
Yeah. What's his name? I can't remember.
Big, huge dude. He was in Vancouver.
McCarthy.
No, it was some other dude.
Brashear.
Bertuzzi. Not Bertuzzi.
Don
Against
Bertuzzi.
Brashear, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Or-
See, I'm.
Yeah.
I got
Well,
it.
like you
Right?
know your hockey.
Dude, I'm in Canada.
Yeah.
Like whether or not I watch it, it's like everybody I know is like into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I just like making people upset by it, by throwing words out, right?
Fucking Luongo.
Fucking Luongo, man. Like,
Thanks again,
that's awesome.
Devin.
You're welcome.
Appreciate every minute.
Thank you for the
Thanks.
interview, brother. Cheers. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Fucking Luongo, though, dude.